Hi, in this next episode, we're going to talk about how to create a file system. Previously, we had shown how to set up a partition or manage partition on a storage device. Well, this is that next step that is needed in order for you to start using storage device. Every single storage device, every single hard disk or USB is actually formatted with a file system. A file system is a method for organizing, storing, and retrieving files from a storage device, like your SSD or your hard disk or USB. On Windows, you might have a certain type of storage or file system, whereas on Linux, there's other types of file systems. So whether the device that you are using or configuring is going to be mounted eventually on the Linux side, on Windows, on macOS, or somewhere else, you would have to create the necessary file system to support the storing, organizing, and retrieving of those files on those specific platforms. How you use this is by using the Mkfs command. This allows you to format a partition for storing files. And there's many types of file systems that are available inside Linux. In this example here, we show the use of ext4, which is a Linux-supported file system. And here, what we are doing in this example is creating a file system on this device so that the files are stored on this device follow this standard based on ext4 file system standardization practice. In this upcoming lab, we're going to show how to use the Mkfs command along with the handy Mkswap command in order to create a file system that is used for storing files, and also how to create a swap space to set up your own swap file system. Please join us in this next lab where we're talking about how to create your own file system. In this episode, we're going to show you how to create a file system. A file system is really a method for organizing and storing files on your partitions or your disks. It's really how the files will be named, how they will be stored, and how they will be retrieved. Now, this is the second step after, creating a partition in order to then start using that disk space. It needs to have a format. There's many popular formats you might be aware of, such as NTFS for Windows, Minix for OS X or Unix, and for Linux there's plenty like ext, ext2, ext3, ext4, XFS, Btrfs. There's a lot of different file systems. But what you need in order to start is, of course, you need a partition, which we have set up. So if I can show you the lsblk command, it's going to show you the block devices, including the two partitions which I had set up previously. And now this partition is empty, and it is ready to be formatted or create a file system on it. So let's take a look at SDB1. If I can actually show you lsblk-f, you can see that every partition has a file system type. So SDA1 is XFS, this is of type LVM, this is XFS, this is of type swap. However, the partitions that I have, they don't currently have any formatted file system. So in order to create a file system on the device SDB1 or SDB2, you need to use the command mkfs, and you can put a dot, and then I'm doing a double tab here for autocomplete, just to show you the options that we have available. So we can format using MS-DOS, XFS, VFAT, Minix, FAT, ext3, 234, and CRAMFS. So we can choose one of these based on requirements or compliance. I'll choose XFS, and I will then point this to my device, SDB1, and of course, this is not going to work, so I'm going to run the command using sudo. Because we are making system-level changes, you do need to elevate your permissions. And here we can see our device has now been formatted. If I can show you lsblk-f, you can see that SDB1 is now formatted with the file system type Mksfs. Now, that's for file system Mkfs. Now, sometimes when you're actually working with swap, which we had actually made this SDB as swap, so you can see that swap is actually being used already. However, if we want to set up another swap space, and again, what swap really is, it's overflow memory. If the memory runs out, kind of like running out of space on your desk, you can start putting things on the ground. And that is what swap essentially does. It gives you a buffer to store memory when memory is overflowing. To set up a swap space, you don't use Mkfs, but you instead use Mkswap. And again, I'm going to put sudo behind it, and I'm going to point to our second device, SDB2. All right, and here we can see it's set up a swap space. So now when I verify using lsblk-f, you can see the two file system type being applied to my two partitions. So that's how you use Mkfs as well as Mkswap in order to create specific type of file systems. Of course, I can rewrite this. If I had data in it, it would all get deleted. But of course, you need to be aware of that when actually formatting file systems which are not empty. You need to, of course, remove the data before formatting another file system on it. That's it for this episode. I want to thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.